Predict, pick, and prevail in your fantasy football leagues with Nick Giacobbe and Nick Cap. From breakouts to busts, superstars to sleepers, these are the guys that will help you achieve fantasy glory. This is the PrimeTime Fantasy Podcast.
Welcome everybody to Season 2, Episode 56 of the PrimeTime Fantasy Podcast, where we give you our predictions, our picks, with the hope that we help you prevail throughout Week 11 and the rest of the 2022 fantasy football season. I'm your host, Nick Giacobbe. Joining me is Nick Cap. Nick, we're getting towards that home stretch, and the news segment is not looking great.
No, yeah, not looking good, and a lot of players on bye too. I know we're not talking about it today, but it's a rough week.
We can mention it. The Bucs and the Seahawks are both on bye. I think they each have at least 3 skill position players that are usually in your lineups every week, and I think there's 1 or 2 other teams as well. But it's pretty rough. So buys, injuries, it's really messy for Week 11. But we're here to prepare you for it as to the best of our ability for Thursday, and to get things started for the weekend. So if this is your first time listening,
Dolphins too. Sorry to interrupt, but Dolphins, Jaguars, Seahawks, Bucs. So.
And as much as you don't have to love the Jags as a football team, but Christian Kirk and ETN are players you're playing every week. So
yeah, and then Waddle to Jeff Wilson, Tyreek.
Yeah, messy week, messy week. But yeah, so we're gonna try to prepare you the best we can both today and tomorrow, and then of course our live show on Sunday. So if this is your first time listening to us, thank you so much. We do the show on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, and a live show on Sundays. This is our Thursday show. We do a news segment, which includes any news from the last 2 days, plus injuries from a practice report that happened on Wednesday, since we record on Wednesday nights. Then we go into a Thursday night football preview, give you projections for each player and tell you if they're going to go over or under. So it's our shortest show of the week, but that's okay. We're just, filling time and giving you some fantasy content so you can enjoy it. If you enjoy this show and you enjoy all of our shows, go and subscribe to us on all audio streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google, Anchor, basically anywhere where you can find a podcast, you can find us, the PrimeTime Fantasy Podcast. If you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please give us a 5-star rating and a review. If you'd rather watch and listen to us, go to our YouTube channel, PrimeTime Fantasy Podcast. Hit a like on this video, subscribe to the channel. YouTube's also one destination where you could find our live shows on Sundays, as well as Facebook and Twitter. Keep connecting and interacting with us on social media, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, PrimeTimeFFPod, then Facebook and YouTube, PrimeTime Fantasy Podcast. Some injury news and updates. First off, Cooper Kupp is going to have ankle surgery. He's going on the IR, will be out at least 4 weeks. That's pretty significant news. I don't think he's droppable yet, but he should be on your IR spot. Best case scenario, he's going to return week 15, which is the start of your fantasy football playoffs. So if your team is good enough to make it to the fantasy football playoffs without Cooper Kupp on your roster, he should be a pretty, if he's back, it'd be very helpful, at least. Your thoughts on this Cooper Kupp injury?
I think the biggest question mark is going to be Allen Robinson. And if he's a guy that's delivered in fantasy off pure volume before, which has kind of been Cooper Kupp's role. I know Nick has been saying it for last 2 weeks. Like, he's been a very big product of Matthew Stafford. So we saw Kenny Golladay, who's absolutely horrendous when he was the wide receiver 1 with Stafford before, excel once again off workload. So I'm very curious to see Allen Robinson. He was on the waivers in one of my leagues. I picked him up to stash him, see how he looks this week. But there's a lot of upside for him, I think. Like, we spoke very highly about him before the season. A lot of people called him the best value in the draft, and he hasn't delivered to it, but here's his chance now.
I think this week could tell us a lot about the Rams going forward and a lot about Allen Robinson's role. And if the Rams are not in playoff contention by the time Cooper Kupp could potentially return, I think they just shut him down for the rest of the season. So I will not root for the Rams. I'm a Cooper Kupp owner in a league where I do have a chance to win a championship, but I refuse to root for the Rams for any purpose. So I will not root for the Rams. But if you're not a Seahawks fan, you should probably be rooting for the Rams if you own Cooper Kupp. Mm-hmm. Next bit of news here, Kyler Murray has a hamstring injury. Colt McCoy has a knee injury. Both are day-to-day. I did see a report earlier from somebody from ESPN. I forget who it was. I think it was Jeremy Fowler or something like that. I forget who it was. Said that there's a chance that Kyler misses multiple weeks. Their bye is week 13. I forget who they have this week, but then they'd have somebody else week 12. And then the bye.
I think they have
San Fran this week.
I think so. So I'll double check. But
so, this could be in trouble if you're a Kyler Murray owner. I'm in trouble because Tom Brady's my backup quarterback, and he's on bye. So now I have to go pick up a quarterback off of my waiver wire. It might end up being Russell Wilson. So we'll see where that goes. But that's a bit of trouble. I mean, Colt McCoy was very efficient last week. Big win against those Rams. So Colt McCoy then could start in place of Kyler Murray on your fantasy football team, maybe not against the 49ers, but against other suitable teams. But he's also injured. So I'm not sure who's going to play quarterback for the Cardinals this week. We'll hopefully have a better update for you on tomorrow's show. Speaking of starting quarterbacks, Andy Dalton has been named the starter against the Rams this week. I think this is a defining game for the Rams. I believe the Saints have 2 wins and the Rams have 3. With the playoffs expanded and the NFC being a shit show, both still have a chance at the playoffs. And I think whoever wins this game is in a much better position. So it's a big game. And I think we're going to see a lot about both teams and kind of figure out which one's the more prepared team for the playoffs. As for Andy Dalton, though, you've said it before that you think he's a better starter for Kamara, but I would still have Jameis Winston in there rather than Andy Dalton. I think we've seen the Andy Dalton experiment and it hasn't really worked out well.
I agree with you on that. I did also see a report that Winston isn't 100% healthy. So I don't know if they're just playing Dalton because Winston's not 100%. But either way, I mean, it's a rough matchup all around going up against that Rams team.
Some more news for the Rams. Marquise Brown with a foot injury has been designated to return from the IR. He's still technically on IR. I looked this up earlier. So they technically have 21 days to actually take him off the IR. We'll see if he plays this week or next week and the quarterback situation on there as well. Dallas Goedert with a shoulder injury has been placed on IR. He's been a pretty solid starter if you've had him, a streaming option or a starter. So that sucks. I think he's very droppable at the moment. I don't think you should hold him until the playoffs because, you don't know when he returns off the IR. If it is within 4 weeks, that's great. But I don't think he's not Travis Kelce or Mark Andrews. I'm okay dropping him if you need a tight end in place of him.
If you have an IR spot, I'll still hold him because I think after the Ertz injury, he was locked in to be the tight end 3 for the rest of the year. He went down as the tight end 3 on the season. So it sucks. But I mean, I have him in a league where I have an empty IR spot. I'd rather keep him there and pick up his backup and just see, right up until.
Khalil Herbert with a hip injury was also placed on IR. If you're not in a keeper league, I think he's very droppable. David Montgomery is going to end up winning people fantasy championships again. He's going to do it again. He does it every single year, which is unbelievable to me. But this is bad for Khalil Herbert guys like I am. So that sucks. I don't know if you want to comment on that at all, but that just sucks.
No, I agree with you.
Carson Wentz is practicing, but Taylor Heineke is still the starter, and Heineke's looked really good, and they just beat the Eagles. I don't think Wentz is going to play another game for the Washington Commanders. I don't know how long his contract is. I don't know if it's a year or 2 years, but as long as Heineke's healthy, I don't think Wentz plays another game for them in his career.
I don't think that's a bad take. I see a lot of people giving Heineke some hype for this week as a start. They're going up against the Texans, who are top 10 against quarterbacks, but Heineke has looked pretty good. The Texans matchup isn't intimidating. They are the worst team in football at the moment. So, with guys like Tua, Kyler, Brady not playing this week, I do think he's a deep play if you need.
I may have to play him. It's going to be him or Russell Wilson.
I see a lot of people picking him up. So
yeah.
Keep your eye out there.
All right, going on to the injury report. This is from Wednesday, so this is the practice that most of these guys would miss, if any. So not a lot of craziness. Jamal Williams with an illness, Jerry Jeudy with the ankle, Mecole Hardman with an abdomen, Marquise Valdes-Scantling with an illness, Juju Smith-Schuster with a concussion. Those Chiefs injuries are really ones to monitor because if it becomes the Kadarius Toney show on Sunday, it's going to be big. Yep. David Njoku with the ankle. That sucks for him because Deshaun Watson, I believe, is going to come back and play next week. And then all the rankings over there are a little wonky.
Mm-hmm.
Jamar Chase did not practice. He's expected to return in week 12. I think he's still on crutches, so it's a little misleading information. But again, we'll see what happens next week or the week after. Najee Harris with a knee injury. I did see Mike Tomlin commented on that. He's been dealing with some pain in it. I feel like he's just due for surgery after the season at this point. David Montgomery for personal reasons and Cole Kmet with a knee injury. I'm not sure Kmet's going to go this week, but again, stuff to monitor for tomorrow. We'll talk about it more on our Friday show. Limited practices. Mark Andrews with the shoulder, Gus Edwards with the knee, Keenan Allen with the hamstring, and Mike Williams with the ankle. Both of them were only in individual drills, I think. So I think technically they got slapped with a limited tag. Josh Allen with the elbow injury, Gerald Everett with a groin injury, Devontae Adams with an abdomen. I didn't know people had abdomen injuries so common. This is weird. Justin Jefferson with a toe injury, Ezekiel Elliott with the knee, A.J. Brown with an ankle, Devontae Smith with a knee. I think a lot of these limiteds are just kind of noting it. They have to note it. I believe a couple teams got in trouble a couple years ago for not noting certain injuries. So now you kind of have to note every little thing for reasons. So, but you're in week 11. Everybody's hurt. That's the end of it. Everybody has an injury. And full Matthew Stafford concussion protocol. He's been cleared, and actually that's a note that Nick put in because as of yesterday, I don't think he was cleared. So that's good news for the Rams at least. Do you want to comment on any of that?
No, it's good. We'll get the updates tomorrow in Sunday's live show.
Yeah, just want to keep you guys updated at least. Thursday Night Football preview. It is the Packers and the Titans. Gross. I don't think I have anybody on either team on anyone. I'm on 5 fantasy teams, and I don't think I have anybody. And one of my teams is dead in the water, but even that one, I don't have anybody. So
I only have Christian Watson from this game.
Yeah,
and the Tennessee defense.
I have nothing to root for at this point. I'll root for the Titans because I just love rooting against the Packers. All right. Aaron Rodgers over under 14.9 fantasy points.
I'm going to go with over. This is a ridiculous line for him, but I do think he's better than this number.
I mean, he's only scored over 16, I think, 3 times this season. I could be wrong on that, but it's not a lot. But the Titans do allow the 5th most fantasy points to quarterbacks, so the 4th. If the Packers win last week is going to be the win that ignites them for the season, then Rodgers has a big Thursday night, so we'll see. Ryan Tannehill, 12.4.
I'll also go with over here. I just think it's too low of a line. I'm not looking to play him anywhere, but that number is very, very low.
I'm going to go with the under. I don't want to start Tannehill anywhere. It's just the Green Bay defense is pretty solid as well. He's had over 12 in one or 12, this number, 1, 2, 3, 4 times. He's at under it 1, 2, 3 times. So it's low, but I don't love it. I don't love it, especially if Derrick Henry scores all the touchdowns. Aaron Jones at 15.1.
I'm going to take the over here. I think Aaron Jones is due for one of his big primetime multiple touchdown games, and I could see it happening. I know that this team is good against the run, but I think Aaron Rodgers can get him down the field, and then Jones can get him in the end zone.
This number is too high to me for me. Titans are 4th best team against the run, and the front 7 is really excellent. They're probably going to sack Rodgers a couple times in this game, so I'm going to take the under. How about Derrick Henry at 17.5?
Again, Derrick Henry, I feel like you just always take the over on him unless if it's like a 24-point line.
Yeah, I haven't seen a reason to not take the over on him in just about any game this season, so I'll take the over. What about Chris? Where is my notes just disappeared?
Alan Lazard.
Alan Lazard, 12.3. There we go.
I'm going to go with over. Last week was his worst game of the year. I think he had like 7 points, and the rest of them have all been double digits. So I think this is a good number for him. I think he could always get to this number as a safe floor with just the one off week.
Titans give up the 3rd most fantasy points to wide receivers. I think one of these receivers would have been on our all boom teams if it was a Sunday game. So I'm going to go with the over. How about his partner in crime now, Christian Watson at 9.6?
It's funny you say that because if Christian Watson wasn't playing on Thursday Night Football, he would have been on my all boom team. I think he's going off for a monster game. I'm starting him in a couple leagues this week off of the waivers. I'm trusting him fully to go out there and smoke that Titans secondary.
He wasn't on any of my waivers. He's on 1, and I couldn't get him. I'll say over, but I don't think he's going to have the explosive game that people expect. He had an explosive game last week. I just chalked it up to a random Packers receiver having an explosive game. I'm not a believer until I see it for 2 or 3 weeks. Romeo Doubs had a game or 2 like this, so I need to see it with my own eyes for a couple weeks in a row. Robert Woods at 7.7.
The line is so low, but I mean, he's probably getting shadowed by Jair, so I still don't want any part of it.
He's getting shadowed by Jair, and he's at under 7 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 2 other games, he only scored under 8. So I'm going to say under for this one. He hasn't been productive. How about Treylon Burks, the rookie, at 7.6?
Here, I'll go with the over. I think Burks is I think he's a better player than his stats have a lot of people to believe. I think he's more than talented on the field.
I mean, you only played 1 game, I believe. So yeah, I need to see it for a couple weeks. And it's his 2nd game. I don't think he played at the beginning of the season, right? Hasn't he been injured the whole season?
He did play, but he got hurt very early on.
Yeah, so I think he needs a couple weeks to get adjusted to the NFL, but this could be a week where he catches a ball or 2. All right, last one, because the Titans don't have a reliable tight end, so we're going Robert Tonyan at 7.1.
Another guy I'll take the over on. It's just the line purely 1 catch for a 1-yard touchdown is that number. So I'll take the over on it.
I'll say it's touchdown or bust. If he scores a touchdown, he's going over. If not, he's going under. I would not start him.
Agree.
All right. That's our week. That's our episode 56. It is our Thursday Night Football preview for week 11. Hopefully you enjoyed this show. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, please give us that 5-star rating and a review. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We'd appreciate that. Keep interacting with us on social media, PrimeTimeFFPod on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter, then Facebook and YouTube, Primetime Fantasy Podcast. Thank you guys for watching and or listening. We'll talk to you tomorrow for our big Friday show. Boom and bust teams, flex on them, injury updates, all that stuff to get you prepared for Week 11 before our live show Sunday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Aside from that, enjoy Thursday night football.